Final Destination. If you've never heard of this popular franchise, I both want to congratulate you and also ask where the hell you've been. If you watched my last review, I discussed the Saw series and the many pros and cons of it. And my overall gripe with Saw was that the longer it went, the more it began to fall apart. And in today's video, we're talking about another horror series that has the same problem. To put it simply, Final Destination has the same formula in every movie. Our main character goes to some sort of event or location, and at said location, a series of cataclysmic events transpire that kill a great deal of people. But, oops, gotcha. They didn't die. They didn't all die. Our main character was merely having a premonition of something that's about to happen 5 minutes from now. Thus, the main character freaks out and inadvertently saves our peanut gallery of soon-to-be victims. Basically, the rule of Final Destination is that our killer is death. And no, I don't mean some punk bitch walking around in a damn Grim Reaper outfit. I mean our killer is the unseen force of death. So basically, by our main character saving themselves and others from the deaths they were destined to meet, death has to rewrite the book and ensure their deaths are finalized. Like they're supposed to. And that's the interesting aspect of Final Destination. We're basically watching human forces attempting to evade something that's beyond us. Death isn't like a demon or a ghost in this film. It's a force, an unseen force, quite literally an unseen force that fiddles with the reality to bring about certain doom. And I love that premise. It's interesting yet hopeless. But how do you fight death? Final Destination does have many fun elements to it, and in some aspects, I think the movies work well when it comes to creating cool deaths. Though you need to look at it at face value, because with the positives, there are negatives. Personally, my biggest gripes with the movies are how irritating the characters are. Like, seriously, if you really look at it, a lot of the deaths are caused by the characters' pathetic attempts to avoid it. It's like fucking Thanos logic. If you look at Final Destination as fun movies just to watch people get horrifically maimed, then they're fun. I said the same thing about Saw. But if you want a franchise with some compelling storytelling and well-integrated characters, then, oof. Let's say we go deeper down this rabbit hole and go over each movie, shall we? And let's start with the first Final Destination, of course. The original Final Destination released in 2000, and for its time, it was a pretty solid film. Granted, this movie probably made a lot of people paranoid about going on planes, myself included. Spoilers ahead. The first movie features our main character having a schizo breakdown on a plane and, of course, saving his band of buttheads from death, as all the movie's formula goes. The plane would later explode in the sky, killing the rest of their colleagues who didn't get off the plane, and as you expect, death needs to tie up loose ends by offing the survivors one by one. That's, again, the same formula for every movie. Now, the one thing you have to understand from this movie and so on is that death works in order, in the order in which they would have died. Well, until the second one. At least that's what the characters think. You know, and I do actually find it funny that in these situations, our cast is just kind of grasping at straws on how death works. Or they're just going to Tony Todd for advice because for some reason he's just an unexplained exposition in this movie. I don't really know how to describe it. But it's really funny that they're literally just grasping at straws and how death works. Like what if death just decides, nuh-uh? But much like any other horror franchises, the dumbest characters in this movie are the damn detectives. Like, it's just an unspoken rule that cops need to be dumb in horror movies. Big spoiler if you've never seen any of these movies. So, basically, the movies always end with our main character dying anyway. It's because, again, it's an unseen force, it's death, and it can kind of do whatever it wants, and there's nothing it can do about it. Like, it's really just an enjoy the ride type of thing. And every movie normally ends with our characters thinking they escaped death, only to be hit with a reality check. And a truck. The overall, the first Final Destination was good for its time, which was over 20 years ago. God damn. But looking back at it now, Final Destination was a fun watch, but pretty cheesy. You know, it's an early 2000s horror movie, so what do you expect? I'd give the first Final Destination a 3.5 exploding planes out of 5. Let's move on to the second one. Final Destination 2 is without a doubt the most memorable one, primarily for one reason. The reason most people remember this one so much is primarily the cataclysm that transpires in the beginning. So this one starts with a visceral highway catastrophe, which in itself is the reason most people are scared of this one. Every day you go out on the road, and the chances of you ending up in a Final Destination 2 accident are low, but not zero. The most memorable kill in this one is the log truck. You know the one I'm talking about. If you've seen this movie, you know the one. The spectacle of the Final Destination 2 premonition is insane, and I love it. I love every bit of it. Like, shit's just exploding for no reason. Half the time it's like an episode of SpongeBob, and I love every second of it. My issue with Final Destination 2, however, comes in with the main character. You know, she annoys me. She annoys me. Yeah, remember when I mentioned how most deaths are due to the characters themselves? Well, 2 is definitely that. Like, our main character always seems to just make things worse, and in this one, death works backwards. But when I say the main character makes things worse, like there's literally one scene in the movie where, like, there's this like kid, his mom, he goes to the dentist, and then as he's leaving out, they're running towards him, talking, and she's yelling, "The pigeons, the pigeons!" And then that puts the idea in his head to just jump at this bunch of pigeons, and then it causes this cataclysm where a big glass panel falls on him. And I just sat there thinking, now, would he have died if she hadn't done that? I think he would have. But as I was saying, like, this one, in this movie, our main character, yeah, seems to just make things worse. And in this one, death works backwards. That's supposed to be the standout part of this one. But overall, as far as deaths, the spectacle of the calamity and just the production itself of Final Destination 2, it's pretty decent for its time, of course. And as far as how likable the characters are, you know, me personally, I didn't really care about anyone in this movie at all. But I'd give Final Destination 2, I give it 3 flying logs out of 5. Final Destination 3. Now let me just say, I have history with Final Destination 3, alright? Final Destination 3 was the first Final Destination that I ever saw. And let me explain. So back when I was a young hood, and when this movie came out, 2006, so I was probably like 7 years old, maybe, something like that. But anyway, I watched this movie when I was clearly too young to be doing so. And this movie kind of traumatized me as a kid. Seeing people get violently mangled isn't something you really want to see as a 7-year-old. But hey, you know what happened. It is what it is, you know. And I turned out fine for it. But if you watch this movie, you already know the scene that really stuck with me. Obviously, the tanning bed scene. Jesus Christ. A spectacle. I should also point out that my family just had this movie on DVD at a point in time, and that's how I ended up watching it, because I was curious about what it was. I saw a roller coaster on the cover, and I thought it was like some sort of cool roller coaster movie or something. I don't know what I was thinking. I was fucking stupid. But yeah, you know, I snuck up and watched this movie one day, and that was the biggest mistake back then. I'll tell you that. But let's talk about the movie, right? Final Destination 3. Final Destination 3 is in my opinion, it's the most fun of the movies. You know, I don't think it's the most well put together by any means, and this one starts to get to that point where they really start to ham in some CGI here and there. Not all. It's not a lot, but it is there. It's starting to become a staple in film, CGI, and I'm not saying Final Destination 3 had a lot of that, but there was some. And I like Final Destination 3 the most. Call that personal bias if you want. It is what it is. It's also the fact that our main character in this one it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and God, do I love me some Mary. I would also like to point out that in this one they actually do make relatively decent efforts to save some of the other characters. Do they succeed? Not really, but I could definitely tell they tried. I also really like a lot of the kills in Final Destination 3, like a lot of them. Actually, I think all of them are pretty brutal, pretty cool, pretty creative. I also think that Texas Battle, yes, that's his actual name. I think his death is super funny. Like he's just pumping iron on his big ass shit, and he just gets clapped, just like Thor, and he just. I love that kill. That one was just funny to me. But overall, I give Final Destination 3 4 tanning beds out of 5. Let's move on to the fourth one, the Final Destination. Alright, boys and girls, strap in, alright? Because we're about to get into some absolute Looney Tune territory, alright? Final Destination 4, officially called The Final Destination, is something else. Why do they even call it The Final Destination when it clearly wasn't the last one? Yeah. Much like Saw 3D, if you watched my last video, when I talked about Saw 3D, much like Saw 3D, which is terrible I might add, this one really likes to ham in the 3D effect. Ironic, because I hate Saw 3D, and I hate The Final Destination. Unlike the first three movies, this one doesn't have a single character that I give a fuck about, like a single one. Even at least in 2. What was the black guy's name? Wasn't he like the voice of Kratos? I forgot what his name was. But I think I kind of cared about him more or less just because of that. But in this one, no joke, I hate every character in this movie, every single one. One of the characters is just a straight up racist. Like when I first saw him, I let out a little chuckle because he called another character or the N-word, and I'm black. All right, I'm black, so no, it's not. It's not because I think racism is funny. It was just unexpected and so out of place. But anyway, the catastrophe in this one is a damn NASCAR tragedy. I don't even know how to describe this one. So basically, what happens is there's just race cars exploding in pieces or flying into the crowd, and then for some reason the stadium is damn near collapsing. Don't know why that happened. Don't even know why did the stadium start collapsing. But all the calamity is so CGI and terrible looking. They're hamming in the 3D effect, and it just all looks so shit. It's just it's just terrible. And I just, God, this movie's terrible, man. It's just terrible. This movie is fucking terrible. And I think the only kill that I liked in this movie was the pool one. A guy gets his asshole sucked out through a pool filter. It's wacky, it's idiotic, but it's like a fun wacky kind of death thing. I wish this movie had more of that. I wish it had more of that. It's like this movie straight up forgot what made the other movies so fun. Like this one just feels like it was made for the sole purpose of riding the 3D hype train. And not even the clues for each death are good in this one. Like in the first three movies, the hints were pictures and clues throughout the environment, like subtle hints or not so subtle hints, but it was kind of creative how they would do it. But in this one, the main character just has that so Raven flashbacks or visions. He just has that so Raven visions, and they're terrible. They're beyond terrible. And I don't know what else I can really say about this movie. Like, The Final Destination isn't fun, it isn't good, the kills aren't even good, the characters are the most insufferable of all the movies, including 5. I give The Final Destination 1 prolapse asshole out of 5. And the only reason it gets a 1 is because I like the pool kill. That was the only thing I liked about this movie, was a guy getting his butthole sucked out. Alright. The Final Destination. We're moving on to the final one. The good one. Final Destination 5. So finally, we have arrived. The Final Destination. Now, much like I mentioned in the Saw review, the most recent movie in the Saw series, Saw X or Saw 10, I thought was a step in the right direction. In the recent Saw, I felt like they took a step back to really make things about the characters while also remembering that it's still a horror movie. And Final Destination 5 is no different. Final Destination 5 has decent characters, it has good kills, and my favorite starting calamity of them all. Like every movie, this one starts with a bridge, with the bridge collapse. Like the calamity in this one is a fucking like bridge collapsing. Which, looking back at it now, I'm thinking, if this bridge did this, why were they letting people on it? Like that bridge was clearly not ready. But my God, is it great? Like it just looks good. It looks great. The kills were great. The acting was great, and that overall shot with the cars falling, it looked magnificent. I also really love the full loop ending of this movie. Again, spoiler. The best reveal in the series. Like my bias aside from the Final Destination 3, I think Final Destination 5 is an overall great movie. For a Final Destination movie, of course. This film also does a great job of building tension before each kill. Like the particular scene that really just gave the most tension was the scene in the gym where one of the characters is doing gymnastics and then it's setting up, and then the death. I was sitting here guessing what would happen to her, and then the death. I still didn't get it right because I would have never guessed how she went out, but I liked it. I really did. Like the tension you get waiting for each death, it's skin tingling in this one. Yeah, I think they did a really good job on that. The music while watching death work around the environment in this one, it's really well done. I really like the score in this one. Final Destination 5, it's great. I think it's just great. And the deaths are great, the characters are great, it's fun to watch. Final Destination 5 is just an overall great experience. There are a few scenes where the CGI looks a bit cartoonish, but it's not overbearing. I'd give Final Destination 5 4 eye lasers out of 5. And but overall, my remarks over the whole series pretty much, Final Destination is an interesting series. The premise is definitely a unique one of the more unique ones for horror. However, it tends to fall short with its characters and its CGI. If you can get past stupid characters and gory deaths, I recommend the entire series except for the fourth one. Final Destination can be fun in many aspects, but at the same time, it can also be annoying. It's a fun, enjoy the ride kind of series, Much like many other horror series, it has its ups, its downs, its sideways. So if you like cool, violent deaths, watch Final Destination, except for the fourth one, because after watching that, you'll be wishing for death too. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more on the way, hit that subscribe button. Any and all contributions to this channel mean the world. Thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.